Welcome to the Moonlit Live, streamed every evening Monday through Friday. This is where I share case files for true, strange, and mysterious stories that deserve to be told and documented. After each live stream, I add these stories to my website, themoonlitarchive.com, where I'm attempting to create the world's largest database of true, mysterious, ad-free stories. Basically, I'm building the Wikipedia of unsolved mysteries where you can browse for free, and for $1 a month, you can edit and create your own case files to help build the archive. I'm looking for a community of researchers, storytellers, experiencers, and interested parties to help build this community. So if you're interested, visit themoonlitarchive.com and sign up on Patreon, any tier, for the Moonlit Ghost to become an official archivist. And if you have a story you'd like to share yourself and have it maybe be featured on the show, email me at themoonlitghost@gmail.com. It doesn't have to be a grand story. If you saw a ghost in your grandma's attic one time, I like to hear about it. Those stories fascinate me. Thank you. See you there, and I hope you enjoy tonight's story. Today is December 2nd, 2025. It's episode 6, titled The Abduction of Alexander Rubowitz. This is a sad one, guys. Chapter 1. The Boy in the Shadows. Jerusalem, 1947. A city caught between empire and uprising. The British Mandate is collapsing. The Jewish underground is rising. And tension sits in every alleyway like a waiting ghost. In the old religious neighborhoods of Mai Sharim lived a boy named Alexander Rubowitz. 17 years old, Orthodox, quiet, thin. Raised by Yehoshua, Yedidya, and Miriam, he was the second of 4 children. A family that believed in faith, discipline, and a future free of British rule. But Alexander wasn't just a student. He was a courier for Lehi, the underground organization fighting for Jewish independence. The group the British called terrorists, and which saw itself as a resistance force against foreign rule. His job was simple and incredibly dangerous. It was posters, glue, a brush, and conviction. On the evening of May 6, 1947, Alexander walked out of his home with a small stack of folded notices under his jacket. He walked past the stone shops and narrow alleyways toward the quieter streets of Reykjavik, where British patrols were thinner. He didn't know it, but within an hour, he would enter one of the most haunting disappearances of the Mandate era. Chapter 2. The Chase. Just before sunset, 3 Jerusalem boys, young teens, saw something unfolding on Ushaskin Street. A teenage boy running. Behind him, a large, powerful-looking man in civilian clothes, but with a movement that screamed soldier. 2 more men waited beside a parked car. The boys watched in shock as the man caught Alexander from behind, wrestled him violently toward the car. One boy shouted at them, asking what was happening. The man flashed what looked like a British police badge and pulled a pistol. That was the moment everything snapped into silence. The car door opened. Alexander struggled. The men forced him inside. One of the witnesses later said he heard something, possibly Alexander, cry out, "I'm from the Rubowitz family." Then fists, a slammed door, and a car peeled into the evening, its tires screeching onto Karen Kayament Boulevard. The boys ran toward the spot where the struggle had ended. There, lying on the pavement, was a gray Trilby hat. Inside the hat was sewn into the sweatband the name Farron. That name would become a storm. Chapter 3. The man behind the hat. The hat belonged to Major Roy Alexander Farron, a decorated World War II hero, former officer in the Special Air Services, the SAS, a man trained for night raids, interrogation, and counter-insurgency. After the war, Britain reassigned men like him to its unraveling territories in Palestine. Farron led a covert police counter-terror squad, an unofficial Q squad tasked with crushing Jewish underground activity. Farron and his men were authorized to operate in the shadows. Ununiformed, unmarked, limited oversight. They were the Empire's hidden blade. And now witnesses were saying that very blade had snatched a Jerusalem schoolboy off the street. Chapter 4. The disappearance. When Alexander didn't return home that night, his family panicked. His father walked from station to station begging for answers. British police denied having him, but the hat, the name inside it, told its own story. On May 9th, the Hebrew press printed his photo above the headline, "Abducted or Arrested." But the truth was something darker. Alexander had left the city alive, and he would not return that way. Chapter 5. What happened next, documented and reported. According to later released testimony, internal British memos, and historical research, particularly the declassified files reviewed by historian David Cesarani, this is what allegedly took place. Farron's squad drove Alexander eastward, toward the desolate hills between Jerusalem and Jericho, an isolated place often linked to Wadi Kelt. There they interrogated him harshly, desperately, demanding names of Lehigh operatives. Under pressure, Alexander denied knowing anything. The accounts say Farron grew furious, believing the boy was lying. He grabbed a stone. Witnesses and some documents claim Farron struck Alexander repeatedly in the skull until he collapsed and died. Afterwards, they stripped his body, burned his clothes, stabbed the corpse, possibly to stage the scene as an Arab attack, then disposed of the remains in secret. Alexander's body has never been recovered. Not a fragment, not a tooth, nothing. Chapter 6, the trial without a body. The scandal exploded. Public pressure forced British authorities to arrest Farron, but the Mandate government was terrified. If Farron was convicted, it would expose British covert operations. It would confirm that the Empire had executed a teenager. So the trial was shaped quietly to fail. The centerpiece of the prosecution's case, the hat labeled Farron, was dismissed by the defense as insufficient evidence. Witnesses were cross-examined until their confidence fractured. No physical remains were presented because none existed. The confession, according to multiple historians, was buried or dismissed. And so, under the law at that time, no body equaled no murder. On October 2nd, 1947, Major Roy Farron was acquitted. The next day, he boarded a ship and left Palestine forever. Before we get into Chapter 7, the aftermath and the cover-up, I want to give a quick Patreon shout-out. We're going to switch to the Patreon. We're going to switch to the Patreon cam. Here we go. I'm here now. You see this right here. It's hard to see, but this is my new Moonlit chest. We have a few names in here from our Patreon supporters. We're just going to shuffle these around and pull one out. And it's our newest Patreon supporter, Jacqueline Booth. I appreciate you for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you. We're going to get back to the story in just a second. Let's go back to the main scene. Here we go. Chapter 7, the aftermath and the cover-up. Farron, the man who most likely killed Alexander, went on to live a long public life, eventually becoming a politician in Canada. Meanwhile, the family of Alexander Rubowitz lived in a permanent, tormented silence. There was no grave, no remains, no marker, nothing to mourn. But the story did not end. A package was delivered to Farron's parents in Britain in 1948. A booby-trapped envelope signed The Avengers, a Lehigh offshoot. Upon opening, it detonated, killing his younger brother, Rex. The cycle of violence continued, fed by the unresolved disappearance of one teenage boy. Chapter 8, the city refuses to forget. Today in Jerusalem's Rekavia neighborhood, on the corner of Ushushkin and Karen Kayemet, a small blue plaque stands quietly in the shade. It reads, "Here, Alexander Rubowitz, age 16, was kidnapped on May 6, 1947. Jerusalem passes by it every day. Children walk to school past it. Cars drive by without noticing it. Most don't know the story. But the plaque stands as the last witness to a crime without a body, a teenager without a grave, and a justice system without justice." His name also appears on Mount Herzl's memorial for fallen Jewish underground fighters. He is remembered, even if he is still missing. Chapter 9, what we know for certain. You can tell this story without embellishment because the documented facts are already stunning. Alexander Rubowitz was kidnapped while distributing posters for Lehigh. Multiple witnesses saw the abduction. A hat labeled Farron was found at the scene. Farron commanded a secret British counter-terror squad. Internal records and historical research indicate he confessed to killing the boy. Alexander's body was never found. Farron was acquitted due to a lack of a corpse. The British mandate soon collapsed. Israel declared independence 1 year later. This isn't fiction, it's history. This was a brutal, messy, unresolved chapter of the Mandate's final days. Chapter 10, The Ghost of Alexander Rubowitz. This story is important because it reminds us that history is not only shaped by generals, empires, or declarations of independence. Sometimes history turns because a boy, a teenager, walks down a quiet street with a poster in his hand. Alexander Rubowitz never fired a shot. He never led an armed squad, never held a rifle. He carried glue, paper, and a belief. He vanished into the backseat of a British car, absorbed into the shadows of empire and insurgency. His ghost still lingers on the Jerusalem streets he once walked, not haunting the living, but haunting the silence. Because justice never came, truth never fully surfaced, and no one ever found his body. Chapter 11, Why This Story Still Matters. Alexander's disappearance is not just a mystery, it's a warning about secret police, about unaccountable power, about young lives consumed by geopolitical conflict. It's a reminder that states fall, empires crumble, and borders change. But a vanished child always leaves a mark deeper than politics. To this day, historians still search archives for scraps of lost testimony. Investigators still debate where the body might be. Families still whisper the name Rubowitz with quiet grief. A murder without a grave, a teenager without justice, a story without closure. Some mysteries linger because evidence is missing. Others linger because conscience is missing. This one lingers because the truth was buried, literally and figuratively, beneath the desert soil outside Jerusalem. Chapter 12, Final Words. We tell this story not to sensationalize it, but to preserve it, because erasure is the final victory of injustice. Alexander Rubowitz was not a soldier, he was a boy with a mission, a believer in something bigger than himself. A life taken in silence by men who thought no one would remember. But we do remember. We demand the truth, we demand dignity, we keep the story alive because a disappeared boy should never vanish from history. And until his body is found, until his name is spoken with justice, his ghost and his story remain unfinished. That is the case file. That's the story of Alexander Rubowitz. It's a testimony to the fact that corruption is prevalent in all eras and all generations. And I'm grateful for you tuning in. This is going to be the format of these shows from here on out. I'm live streaming Monday through Friday. Evenings. Tomorrow night, we'll be talking about something a little less sad. We're going to be talking about, it's still sad, but we're going to be talking about a ship that sank with a lot of gold during the gold rush in Alaska. People lost their lives, and people are still looking for the treasure, so that'll be a fun one. I appreciate you tuning in. Have a good one, guys, and I will see you tomorrow night.